Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Belarus is trying to spark a major confrontation as hundreds of migrants walk towards the Polish border, with some trying to breach the fence using spades, wire cutters and other implements. Tens of thousands of Polish soldiers are at the hotspot, and the army has mobilized 2 brigades of the Territorial Defence Forces. Meanwhile, the President, Prime Minister and the Ministers of Defence, Foreign Affairs and Internal Affairs met in Warsaw to discuss the options for dealing with the crisis. Government spokesman Piotr Muller said there were between 3,000 and 4,000 migrants near the Polish border. He acknowledged that the border is under attack in an organised manner and reinforcements are needed. Our services report that whole shipments of people from Arab countries are arriving in Belarus. Also, the number of people who try to cross the Polish border is constantly growing. According to reports, the migrants, mostly young men with rucksacks and sleeping bags, are accompanied by armed Belarusian soldiers. Lukashenko is bringing in thousands of people by plane from all over the Middle East. In a word, he has been planning this operation for a long time. Our armed forces must be prepared to use all means. The level of readiness of the Territorial Defence Forces has been raised to support the border guard. Territorial Defence Force soldiers living in the Lubelskie, Podlaskie and Warmińsko-Mazurskie provinces are to be mobilised for deployment in up to 6 hours, those living in central Poland in 12 hours. Huge respect for their hard work, service, challenges, but they also deserve moral support from us because they are facing huge dilemmas. While fighting for our safety, they are subjected to emotional blackmail, also from Poland. The European Union accuses Minsk of encouraging migrants from the Middle East and Africa to cross into the European Union via Belarus as a form of hybrid warfare in revenge for Western sanctions on President Alexander Lukashenko's government over human rights abuses. Lukashenko's government has repeatedly denied manufacturing a migrant crisis and has accused Poland of adopting an inhumane attitude. On the other hand, international charities demand that the migrants be let into Poland, pointing to freezing weather conditions and the alleged lack of food and medical attention. Humanitarian groups accuse Poland's ruling party of violating the international right to asylum by pushing migrants back into Belarus instead of accepting their applications for protection. We must be prepared for the fact that there may be casualties on both sides. Lukashenko wants to escalate the crisis as much as possible. Besides, this is Putin's policy. At the moment, very large forces are gathering on the border with Ukraine. Escalation is taking place, and Putin is opening windows of opportunity as a result of the United States President's disastrous policy. The Polish health services are on alert as the Ministry of Health reported more than 7,000 new cases of the coronavirus infection. More than 10,000 COVID beds are occupied in hospitals. Once more, temporary hospitals are being opened as the 4th wave of the epidemic accelerates and doctors are being recruited. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki said during a recent visit to a temporary hospital in Wrocław that the reserve hospitals are not just a tool to fight coronavirus. The decision to keep most of them helps to safeguard the needs of patients with other conditions. The Prime Minister, in line with the Ministry of Health's experts, says the developing 4th wave is due to insufficient vaccination. As a society, we disregard epidemic rules and this only helps the virus to spread. Let us think every day about the rules that are in place. At the moment, we do not anticipate tightening of restrictions. Of course, if the situation deteriorates, we will have no choice. Recruitment of doctors for soon-to-be open temporary hospitals is still underway. Anesthesiologists, internists, nurses and paramedics are also being sought. It is not the hospital buildings, beds or equipment that heal, but the people who work there. They will connect the ventilator, give oxygen, they will guide the patient, and we are short of manpower. As a society, we disregard epidemic rules, and this only helps the virus to spread. Keeping COVID-19 patients in one place will help limit transmission of the virus. The opening of temporary hospitals will also contribute to the normal functioning of other facilities. The idea is that an infected patient should not be sent to a regular district hospital, because a special room and dedicated staff will have to be made for him. At the moment, about 50% of Poles have been vaccinated, and as a virologist, Professor Włodzimierz Gut reminds us, at least 85% of society should be vaccinated. The Health Ministry plans to increase the number of COVID beds to 20,000. 18 temporary hospitals are already up and running. 2 doctors at a hospital in Szczecin have been suspended in connection with the death from sepsis of a pregnant 30-year-old woman. The woman was 22 weeks pregnant. Before her death, she wrote text messages to her relatives that the doctors had taken a wait-and-see attitude towards her, despite the fact that her waters had broken and her temperature was rising. The opposition is linking the tragedy to the ruling of the Constitutional Tribunal on abortion and is using it in the current political struggle.
The tragedy that befell Mrs. Isabella and her family is being used to create an atmosphere for the introduction of liberal anti-abortion laws. We are dealing with a large number of medical errors in Poland. They often result in disabled children, for example, who are born with complications resulting from inappropriate prenatal care. This needs to be dealt with systematically. Looking at this issue from a social point of view, I think that human misfortune is being used for political purposes. This is one of the easiest way, but this terrible frustration will not end soon.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.